Hey there, this week's newsletter is titled, Can Less Time Mean More Impact? Rethinking Sermon Length. Every week I watch my sermon recordings. It's like reviewing game film, to use a sports analogy. When I downloaded a video of a recent message, I realized I had preached 63 minutes. Yep. 63 minutes. I double checked. Not planned, not expected, but it happened. And while the congregation stayed engaged and the message landed, it resonated well, I couldn't shake this one thought. Could a shorter sermon have been even more effective? That's what inspired this deep dive we're doing this week. Let's explore why long sermons might feel safe, but why shorter ones could actually make a bigger impact. You might be surprised to learn that while most of us who preach regularly, we preach about 40 plus minutes. And some studies actually suggest that the most effective sermon length falls around 30 minutes. But here's what really caught my attention. 85% of preachers believe that they preach under 40 minutes, but only 66% of the people who listen to us agree. Now, that gap tells us something important about perception versus reality. Hey, there are some hidden costs to lengthier sermons. When we preach lengthier sermons, we can find ourselves, one, racing through our content. We can find ourselves skipping what we planned to say and what we had planned to preach, omitting it altogether. And then we can find ourselves rushing the application or even the conclusion of our messages. And then here's the one that tops it all. We can find ourselves focusing on time instead of impact. Hey, I shared this 63-minute experience not from a place of expertise, but as a fellow traveler on this journey. In my earlier years, every sermon seemed like I was trying to empty an ocean with a cup. I packed all the insights I could find into that sermon, the cross references that I studied. They went in multiple illustrations and endless applications. It was like a gumbo. I'm from South Louisiana. I would make sure it was all in there. But here's what I teach now. And I want you to remember this, that you don't have to preach everything in the text as long as what you are preaching is in the text. Did you get that? You don't have to preach everything in the text as long as what you are preaching is in the text. Hey, here's what I'm learning on my journey. Number one, constraint creates clarity. By that I mean time limits sharpen our messages. When we have developed an objective, an aim, what we're after, the time limits that we place on ourselves can sharpen that particular message. Number two, intentionality increases impact. Intentionality increases impact. I've discovered a few strong points outweigh many weak ones. And then number three, preparation produces purpose. Preparation produces purpose. When you know your preaching parameters, especially when you are a guest speaker, you can prepare accordingly. Hey, I've had engagements where my allotted time was 25 minutes. My allotted time was 35 minutes, and I had to prep to honor the time. And here's what this requires of us. It requires a shift in mindset. We have to shift to asking what's essential, not what else can I add. We have to shift to celebrating what we can deliver, not what we have to leave out. And lastly, we have to shift to focusing on transformation over information. Now, here's what I'm committing to, and I want you to join me in this commitment. Number one, record and review. I'm going to capture my message on video and watch it within 24 hours. If I have to go 48, I'll do that, but I'm going to watch it. And while watching, I'm going to track the actual time compared to the planned time. I'm going to look for the engagement dynamics of the message. But number two, I'm going to get real feedback. I'm going to ask questions of trusted others who can provide me with actionable feedback to get better as a communicator. And then thirdly, I'm going to practice precision. Yes, after 36 plus years of preaching, I still do practice runs. If it's not the entire sermon all in one setting, I practice the sections. It may be segments of the introduction, the points that are in the body, or even how I'm landing that message, the conclusion. Remember this: concise preaching isn't about managing time. It's about maximizing impact through clarity. Hey, before we go, I want to highlight a new feature I've added to our newsletter. It's called the Focus Framework feature. Of course, the Focus Framework is the framework I created for stress-free sermon preparation and delivery. And each week, I want to highlight one part of the framework. And in this week's newsletter, I'm highlighting the S of the framework, which stands for determine strategy. Listen, when it comes to sermon length, what we're talking about in this newsletter, your delivery strategy is as crucial as your content. I also want you to take advantage of the new resource that I've created. You can download it from the email. It's the Sermon Length Assessment tool. Now, this tool is going to help you to track, assess, and optimize your sermon length for maximum impact. Get your sermon length assessment tool and let's grow on this journey together. All right, friends, listen, if you know someone who might find these insights valuable and the downloadable resources usable, I want you to share this newsletter with a fellow preacher or ministry leader. Hey, let's grow our Focus Your Preaching community. All right. I'm Henry Ballard Jr., your sermon crafting coach. Until next time, you craft on and you preach on. I'll talk to you soon. Peace.